the effort's been shared, and so I can't take all the credit. Yeah.
There's a lot of good people in the committee.
Yeah, yeah.
You didn't mention Chuck and Di.
Oh, they're always. Di does all the communications to the media, and Chuck does the
website.
The website, which,
right.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll post political pictures on my Facebook page, and he's actually taken some of those and put them on the Nashua City Committee's website.
Right.
So we're the same county, because if you win county attorney, then you will also represent Merrimack.
Right.
But we're different congressional districts.
It's very funny that way. I've been to Manchester, and I'm meeting the congressional candidates from the other district, and
Don't you hate primaries? I know everybody that's running for Congress and Senate, and on the Republican side anyway, and governor. Yeah. And I'm supposed to be neutral.
I'm so lucky that I'm supposed to be neutral as the National Republican City Committee chair, because I wouldn't want to decide between.
I know it's hard. Have you had any candidates call you and ask you to be on their team?
No, because they know I can't be with my position. But I do talk to them personally. I mean, Charlie Bass called me personally on the phone just to talk politics, and I help. In 2006, people were holding his sign and my sign out at the polls. I was very supportive. I wanted, supportive. I wanted him to do well. And then in 2008, and then 2008, I was at the first. Well, maybe her family had a meeting first, but when she tried to have just a who's for me organizational meeting, I was there.
For Jennifer?
Yeah. So I was with Jennifer from the very beginning. So to choose between them now.
Yeah, I like talking to Jennifer because she's very optimistic.
Oh, yeah.
She has solutions, and she's a very good speaker. Yeah. And I get all tongue-tied. I'm like, I don't like talking. And so you're in Nashua, so that's the second congressional district. In the first district, we have Rich Ashew, Mayor Frank Ginta, and now Sean Mahoney's in the race.
Right. And that's not all. There's a nice guy named Mike who's a cook.
Mike.
And he used to be I forget his last name, but he gave me his card and it shows a Mike on it. And so I can remember that his name's Mike. But he's a nice guy. He used to sell, he said he was a stock salesman,
There's that Bastani fella too.
Bastani, he's all right. He's a very intelligent guy.
I don't know him. He came to...
Is it Peter Burse too?
Oh, yes. Okay, those are names I know, but Oh, wait, Peter Burse, does he live in Merrimack?
I don't know where he lives.
Is he the one whose parents owned King Cone? I know his wife.
I don't know.
I think that's who that is. I could be wrong.
I don't know.
I should look that up.
I didn't get the impression that he was from Merrimack, but
then we have the governor's race.
Yeah.
We have John Stephen. I think he's the front runner, and then Karen Testerman.
Yeah.
She's in my women's club, and
Jack Kimball.
Jack Kimball, and John is a very good friend of ours.
Oh.
And then I've got Karen's a friend, and Frankie Miro. I've worked with him on other things.
And who's Frankie Miro?
He's state representative in Londonderry, but he's also running for governor.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He doesn't go to a lot of events.
Oh.
He's really strong for the veterans. It was his idea to bring the Gold Star Mothers Memorial to New Hampshire.
Oh.
It's just a statue, as I'm a director on this committee, to honor all the Gold Star mothers whose
nice.
sons or daughters have died while serving in the military.
Yeah.
It's a very worthy organization. That's why I got all excited when you said fundraising. I'm like, you know how to fundraise? Can I give you this card? We need help raising the funds. We've already made the first payment, so the casting has started, and we're working on
you've already decided on the art?
Yes, well, I got to tell you about this guy. His name is Andrew Chernick, and I met him at the groundbreaking, which turned into a snow breaking a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And he and whoever was with him, they recognized me because I did their promotional video, and they said, "Oh, you're that lady from the video," and they were excited to meet me. And then I found out who he is. I'm like, don't you know who you are? He's the Franklin Mint guy, Andrew Chernick. He has works of art all over the world. He's an amazing person. He has a studio and a museum in Gettysburg or in that area. So he's the guy that's making the statue. It's bronze.
Nice.
It's going to be all shiny.
And it's going to be of a mom.
Yes, and she's 1940s era because there's no politics. In the 40s and World War II, everyone was just American. And you look at that statue.
Well, that's a nice
thing
to think, but it's not.
That's mother.
That's not true.
What?
That everyone was all for going to the war in World War II.
That's what I read.
Everybody forgets that. But go read an old New York Times, and you'll see that people people bought pages of the New York Times to say, "Oh, we shouldn't be fighting Hitler."
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
There were pacifists then, and there were people who didn't want to get. There were people with the political loyalties that mixed things up. But eventually, of course, when we realized how bad the opposition was in those wards, then everybody, they had to shut their mouths about whether or not they were for, or whether being against the war, but it was a very bad political thing once it was done. But leading up to it, and maybe even during it.
Did you know that in the South, since the Civil War, there were several states that they did not celebrate the 4th of July until World War II?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So there's a lot of interesting things, but I didn't know about that then.
Yeah. Well, when I was at UNH as an undergraduate, we had time to do things like go through the stacks and go through the what do they call that? Microfiche.
Right.
And look at old.
Do you ever go to the? Well, you must in your work. Do you go to the library in Manchester and look up old stories?
I've only been to the Manchester Library once, though.
Yeah, I've done a couple of shows where I know, but there are stories that are not online. I had to go look it up. I'm like, wow, looking up these old stories. The Vietnam War was still going on.
Right.
I found this amazing story, and it was an exclusive to the Union leader. It was 1973. There was a woman who went to Laos looking for her son, who was a POW, prisoner of war, and she, I don't know, you have to read the whole thing, but she got to see him. And I wrote it.
Was he in prison?
Yes, in Laos, and he never came home. Who came home from Laos? This is a whole other show. It's a very interesting story. I actually won an award writing this. It was the book, Enormous Crime, a book review. I got an award for it, but they wouldn't include that story because they said it was fantastic. Like who would believe that this woman went to Laos? But it was in the Union Leader in 1973. And that was the same year that 2 girls from Merrimack were killed. It's a cold case. And,
murdered, really?
Oh, my gosh.
In 72?
73. I think it was 73. There was a standing room only discussion about it at the library here a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And there was a retired detective who wrote a book about the homicide. And then he wrote another book about just his days on the beat. He was a Nashville cop, so you can read his stories and you know where he's at, walking down Main Street and all the different buildings he talks about. But then on the last page, he said, "This is who I think murdered these girls." And the guy is still living in Merrimack. Wow. So there was standing room only. And so I met with the detective, and he showed me, we went out to where the girls were found, and he was profiling it, but I did a different profile, and when I called my friend, who's an investigative reporter for years, and he's even testified to Congress, he had a whole different profile. So it's very interesting. But now that they're opening up the cold cases, and they still have the clothing, the DNA's on the clothing, they're going to find out one way or the other. Yeah, that's amazing. The progress of science can do. So dig up some new facts and maybe bring it to court. So it's amazing what you find reading the old papers. Oh, the old papers are fascinating. Yeah, it'd be nice if they're all online. That would be nice, because it's kind of scary. Now you have to pay for it. You have to go to like LexisNexis or something. And you do have to pay. Yeah, and you have to pay to make the copies, and then you have to. That machine, it goes real fast. You have to stop it, slow it down, and get it to the right size. Yeah. Oh, that's his machine at the main library, but that's kind of a seedy area. I'm like, ugh. In Manchester? Yeah. At Victory Park, and in the summer it's like. Last time I was there was for the Tea Party, and it was, yeah. It didn't seem seedy at the time, but. No, but if you go like on a hot summer day, they got all these people that are just hanging out in the library because there's air conditioning there. Oh. And I'm like, is my car going to be safe outside? I think it's safe. I did see you at the Tea Party, and at the time I didn't know that you were running for an office. You're running again for county attorney, and I just went up to you and I said, if you're a politician, if you're running for something, you're supposed to be going around talking to people and shaking hands. And from your reaction, I got, he must be running for something. So I wasn't trying to pick on you. I'm sorry. No, that's all right. But some people complained about the politicking that went on, and so I think I did the right thing. I was a little. I was a little YouTube, holding back. Really? I put you on, because I taped the event and I put it on YouTube. So. Oh, okay. It's on my Facebook page, so I'll send it to you. But somebody wrote into the Telegraph complaining about Charlie Bass politicking with a camera. Somebody was interviewing him. I did see that. And, I saw that story. And the interview was going on between that person writing the letter to the editor and the and he turned his back, they said, Yeah, so I'm glad I didn't get too... but I saw pictures, lots of pictures at the Tea Party that other people took, and I saw Mayor Frank Ginta and Rich Ashew standing side by side. Oh. And they're both wearing...